Hello, everybody. We are excited to be together once again on Tuesday mornings. This is one of my favorite mornings of the week. And today we are going to be learning all about healthy digestion. And I have had an opportunity to take a peek at these slides, and I'm telling you, this is just really, really good information for us, but also for us to share. So every week we get to be together, like I said, as a group here, and here's our strategy team that works a lot of hours to put this whole thing together, and I'm thrilled to be a part of this. And my name's Becky Choate, and today we're going to be hearing from Jean Zabinden and Angie Thomas, and they're going to tackle this topic of digestion. So for our objectives today, we really want to look, this month we've kind of taken our product focus to look at healthy digestion, and we really do have amazing products. If Barb mentioned someone in the pre-call that she wants to have on at some point to tell her story, and it was all about this digestive and how she had gone to so many doctors and no one could be of help, and here she tries our Shaklee products, and all of a sudden within 2 to 3 months' time, she is a completely different person. And any of you that have used our products for digestion probably know that too. It is, this is one of those areas actually that we always talk about that health is personal. Digestion is one of those areas that's actually way more common that people have issues, but they are embarrassed or just feel too private to talk about. And so it's good for us to share it, because sometimes when we begin to share about it, then people are like, oh, me too, you know, or whatever. So it's just important information for us to be able to share with other people. We're going to look at, after Angie and Jean go over the products, we're going to look at how you could put these into product collections, and then our goal is always to help you generate 1,000 new PV with these product collections. We're going to talk about a variety of ways of how to close meetings and appointments, and then also just to remind ourselves again the power of events and group meetings. And Barb, you said something in the pre-call. There is a synergy that happens when people come together, and it makes it all elevated or more exciting. And so we want to encourage each of us to be able to do that, and then of course to always continue to share stories. And so Angie's going to start us off with digestive disorders.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thanks, Becky. Good morning. I'm really glad that we are tackling this topic. I never really knew how prevalent digestive disorders were until I started taking a look at my business, kind of thinking about the kinds of people I come in contact with and help, and where my Shaklee business has directed me. And of course, I'm in the kid and mom world, so I just figured that's the majority of my customers. But when I looked at it, I thought, oh my gosh, I have a lot of customers that have come to me because of digestive disorders. So I really think that a lot of people, a lot of us can look at our business and see, oh my gosh, we have a lot of customers with digestive disorders that we are helping. So I think this is super important. And kind of to bounce off of what Becky said about how sensitive this topic can be for people, I feel like that is why it's so important to do what we do, because we build relationships with people where they feel comfortable talking to us about all of these kind of sensitive, embarrassing things. And honestly, like, once someone can tell you that they have explosive diarrhea, like, your relationship is like taken to another level. And like, when you can make them feel comfortable with that, like that you didn't skip a beat when they said that, like, they're your new best friend. All right, so I think this is really important to become comfortable with talking about. So the digestive disorders are commonly acid reflux. Some people call it GERD or heartburn, irritable bowel disease, inflammatory bowel disease. IBS is another one for the irritable bowel disease. People will call it IBS. Inflammatory bowel disease is commonly called Crohn's. Ulcerative colitis, those are not the same. Crohn's and ulcerative colitis are two different things, but they're in that same category. Bloating, gas, constipation, diarrhea, burping and belching. You'll notice that some of these things, like the Crohn's, the IBS, those are more chronic things that people are dealing with long term. Gas and diarrhea, those things can also be, or they can be occasional. So I think when you're listening today, it's not just for people that have these chronic digestive disorders. Some of these tips and solutions can help on the occasional, especially the day after Halloween, right? We might have some bad feelings going on digestively. So I'm going to I'm going to lay the land of how the upper digestion works, and then Jean's going to come on in a little bit and lay the land on the lower digestion. So upper digestion, all of our food goes in through our mouth. The saliva is going to start breaking it down breaking down the starches. So the first digestive enzyme that we use is our saliva. Then our food's going to travel down through the esophagus. There are no digestive juices here, so nothing's really breaking it down. It's just sort of a tunnel to our stomach. The stomach is where the next batch of digestive juices are, and those are called the stomach acids or gastric acid. These are made of hydrochloric acid and sodium chloride, and this is going to start where our proteins are being digested. You've heard us talk about the stomach and the hydrochloric acid before when we talk about probiotics. This is that same area. And why it's really important to talk about it in digestive issues is because these glands in the stomach lining are producing those digestive juices, and they're producing the enzymes to break down the proteins. So if our stomach isn't producing properly or something's not functioning well, we are not absorbing any of the nutrients that we're supposed to absorb in our stomach. I think that's a really important part. I think the next thing that I didn't put on the slide I was thinking about was if our proteins aren't being digested in our stomach like they're supposed to be, they're moving on to the next section, and maybe the next section isn't able to handle them either because that's not what it's designed for. And so then everything's being thrown off, right? The next section's like, wait, what are those? I don't, I wasn't supposed to handle all of this. So everything, like the domino effect, is not working.
That's right. And that's where you have undigested foods there, and they will lie there and ferment, and that causes gas. And so a lot of the pain that people experience are gas pains because things were so. The main thing, excellent, Angie, is that just remember the stomach is supposed to have acid. Excellent.
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly. The stomach is supposed to have acid. That's another key point we need to remember in this laying of the land here. So acid reflux is the one we're going to focus on right now with the upper digestive issues because it's so common. Estimates are showing that half the people over age 40 have acid reflux. When Barb was in St. Louis doing some wonderful meetings with me, we had a meeting with 4 women, and we thought we were talking about kids, but we just happened to mention, does anybody have any like heartburn or acid reflux issues, or your kids? All of them said yes, some sort of digestive issue was going on. And that wasn't even what we were there to talk about. We just realized like how important this is. If it's left untreated, inflammation or ulceration of the esophagus can occur. So what is acid reflux? It occurs when there is backup of the stomach acid. Reflux is always kind of, a reference to things backing up, basically. So the stomach acid is backing up back into the esophagus. This either happens because there's too much acid, or that muscle, that sphincter between the esophagus and the stomach is inflamed, or it's not totally working properly. And so things are coming back up there. That can feel like a burning sensation in your chest, which is where heartburn comes from. Sufferers from acid reflux can experience burping, heartburn, regurgitation of acid in the throat. That is very painful. Vomiting, pain or muscle spasms. It's a really uncomfortable condition that, because it's so common and people are like, oh, I have acid reflux, oh, we don't really realize how painful it is. It's sometimes things that are common, people think, oh, we just live with that. No, like it is not a comfortable thing to live with. And I didn't put this on here, but it can really affect your sleep too, because it's worse when you lay down.
And it's very damaging to those tissues. So just think about how strong hydrochloric acid is, and then imagine what that would be if you poured that on your skin. And so when that comes out of the stomach, and up into the esophagus, it does a lot of damage to those tissues. So very good.
So I want to share a story today. This is John Jakubowski's story. We know his wife, Kristen, very well. We love her. And if you haven't met John, he is just as lovely as Kristen. And I'm really happy that they were willing to share this story with us today, because we have a lot of stories from women. I think it's helpful to have some stories from men in our back pocket, because when we talk to men who are also having acid reflux and other issues, it's nice for them to be able to relate to a story from another man. So stick this one in your brain somewhere, so when you're talking to men, you can share this one. So John was a wrestler since he was 14 years old, and that continued through college, where there was many bouts of binging and purging, which created really bad heartburn as an adult. This was exacerbated because of poor diet, and it became worse when he would consume alcohol and lay down after eating. Just a side note, when you lay down, gravity is not helping you. So everything's just kind of sitting there, and then you can kind of picture that like going back up into the esophagus just because gravity is not there either. When John turned 40, he had an upper GI scope revealing damage, which the doctors declared as Barrett's esophagus. So in my research, I realized that Barrett's esophagus is the thing we're all trying to avoid with acid reflux. Let's not get to that point. Well, John was already there, and so they prescribed him an acid blocker for a year and then wanted to follow up with him in a year. But being the husband of a Shaklee lady, John, John was very in tune with everything and realized he wanted to take a different approach, so he chose not to go on the medication, but to improve his nutrition and to use supplementation. If we can have a round of applause for John right now. So the improved nutrition that he did was he limited the acids, he limited his sugars, and his alcohol. And then he supplemented with Vitalizer, alfalfa, and 2 to 3 chewable calcium magnesiums every night before going to bed. And we'll talk a little bit more about this supplementation later, but his follow-up is actually this month, and he hasn't had symptoms. The symptoms subsided, so I'm really excited to hear what they find when he has his scope. So his triggers were the binging and the purging and the alcohol and some poor diet, but other triggers can be coffee, spicy foods, soda. I just want to focus on the soda for a minute. Everything we talk about, what's bad? What's a trigger for that? What isn't good for that? Soda. I mean, and then we see, we see these kids drinking soda, and I'm like, just today, my first grader told me that for snack, his friend at school brings a soda every day for his snack, and I'm just like, I'm just so sad because they don't know that this is not good. Anyway, citric foods, tomatoes, excess weight, those are other. And pregnancy is another time that a lot of people can experience acid reflux. I didn't put that on the slide, but it's another time because that uterus is pushing on the stomach, which then pushes that acid back up into the esophagus. Okay, Becky or Francine, I'm sorry. You can go on to the next one now. So when we look at how to solve any issue, I like to know what the conventional treatments are, because that's typically what our customers are using or have heard of. I like to know what the dietary approaches are, and of course I like to know what the supplemental approaches are. So for acid reflux, the conventional treatments, and I'm going to go from the light to the heavy. This is not necessarily how doctors approach it. Sometimes they go straight to the heavy. The light would be the over-the-counter antacids, such as Tums. The caution here would be about ingredients and not to use any that contain aluminum. That is an ingredient that can be in over-the-counter antacids. The next step would be an acid blocker prescription. These are typically called Zantac or Pepcid, and they decrease the amount of acid produced by the stomach. So when we think about that earlier slide about how acid is necessary in our stomach to digest our food and to absorb the nutrients that our food is providing, this is decreasing the amount of acid produced by the stomach. So in theory, you would assume that now we're not absorbing as many nutrients or processing them. Side effects of these meds include nausea, vomiting, diarrhea or constipation, liver damage, blood abnormalities, rashes, joint pain, and heart rhythm changes. The last one is rare, but they do happen. And I think you can look back and realize that some of these are happening because the food is not being digested and it's causing the gas or the backup. So from there, the next step, if that isn't working, would go to drugs that enhance the peristalsis, which is those movements of the muscle that help move the food through the GI tract. Mm-hmm. It's going to help that esophagus keep that acid in the stomach. A typical name of a prescription, it would be Propulsid. I actually haven't heard of this one that much, so I'm not sure how common prescribing this one is. Side effects of these medications include headache, abdominal pain, runny nose, infections, and abnormal vision. Sounds fun.
Good research on this, Ange. And here, the point of all of this is every one of those treatments is treating a symptom and not the cause. Right. And that's the big difference. So eager to see your next slide.
Okay, well, the last one there, those are the proton pump inhibitors. And this is typically the ones I hear. So my question would be, are these the ones that the doctors are jumping to? I don't know, but those are some typical ones. And Prevacid is not meant for long-term use. That's another concern as well. Okay, so those are the conventional treatments. The next we want to look at is the dietary approaches. So when we talk to our customers, it's nice to know the conventional treatments of where they were, but we want to talk to them about dietary approaches as well as supplemental approaches. So fried foods, spicy foods, alcohol, caffeine, and sugars are typical triggers. You may not have to eliminate all of these food groups forever, but it is helpful to eliminate them all in the healing process, partly so that the healing can occur while it's not trying to deal with the triggers, but also so you can know which ones are triggers. Spicy food may not be a trigger for everyone. That wasn't one of the things that John Jakubowski listed as a trigger, but alcohol was. So for him to heal, he knows that alcohol is a trigger. Let's take that out. Also avoiding food for 2 hours before bedtime, so the stomach is empty before laying down. And I thought this next part was interesting. So it's not all about removing foods. Let's see what kinds of foods can help. Papaya is helpful in adding enzymes, and cabbage juice is helpful in soothing the stomach lining. So not everyone juices, and that doesn't always sound, cabbage juice doesn't sound delicious to everybody. But I've put cabbage in my Life Shake, and I really don't taste it that much. And so that's another way we can help our customers. They can make a papaya cabbage shake.
Good tip. Lower digestion. You know, Angie made a great point, is the system all works together. And when I talk to people, I find that if people are having problems in the stomach, a lot of times they're having problems in the lower digestive area and vice versa. And if someone is on an acid reflux med, they may be experiencing some of those symptoms, which then also causes problems in the lower digestion. So I'm just going to go over a little bit about how this area works. And typically when you speak with people, what you want to remember is 1 meal in, 1 meal out. Very basic, but it's surprising that when you talk to people, how often people will say, well, I go or eliminate once or twice a week and that's normal for me. But when you realize that's really not how your body is supposed to work. But I was one of those people. I was one of those people that said, well, that's normal for me. So the normal healthy digestive tract holds 4 to 5 meals at a time. The first is being processed in the stomach. The second is being processed in the small intestine, and I think that diagram might be large enough that you can kind of see that. The third, fourth, and fifth are at various stages in the large intestine, which is the colon. And the colon, you can see, is that long tube that wraps around the small intestine. Now that sixth meal should replace one of those meals, that 1 meal in, 1 meal out. But if it doesn't, if someone's having some problems, then where does it go? And then where does the 7th meal go? And where does the 8th meal go? And the 9th meal? And so what happens is it stacks up in that large intestine because they're not eliminating often enough. And digestion time in the stomach should be 20 minutes to 5 to 6 hours, depending on what the food is. The small intestine, 2 to 6 hours, depending on the food. And the colon, 8 to 12 hours. But in today's world, and with the food that we
eat and our kids eat, we're finding that that time is closer actually to 72 hours and longer. So if your system is working correctly, you should be at a max of the 24 hours. But we're finding that people are more at the 72 and even longer than that. You go to the next slide. So what happens? So if people are not eliminating often enough, what is happening? So if you envision that large intestine wrapping around that small intestine, and that just starts building up in there, and that excess becomes impacted on the colon walls. And you can see from the diagram, I mean, there's a lot of bad stuff that happens. Your food just kind of rots in there, and it actually can give off a mold, which is really disturbing when you think about that.
And toxic.
Yes, very toxic. And then that bad bacteria also starts to build up. And some of the things that can happen is the ballooning of the colon, where you have that bloating and pain. The blockages will cause constipation and diarrhea. Whoops, and I'm not even sure I'm going to say this right.
Diverticula.
Thank you. Small pockets where the colon wall actually balloons outward. Polyps. You'll hear a lot of people when they say they're going in for an exam, their doctor might be removing polyps. These are small protrusions of the inside of the colon wall. Candida, I think we've talked a lot about candida. That's an unhealthy balance of good and bad bacteria. So this would be a very a bad buildup of the bad bacteria. And the toxins build up to this chronic inflammation. And our colon is lined with this mucous membrane, and I'll talk about that. This mucous membrane has a purpose. And when it becomes impacted, it just is covered then with this matter and this mold and this toxic environment. So this toxic buildup and this chronic inflammation damages that membrane. And the membrane, what the membrane does is it absorbs these good nutrients, and it prevents the absorption of the bad stuff. So now you've got it covered with just the bad stuff. And there's no room to absorb anything good, but also it happens then, it starts to absorb the bad, because what else can it do? So it starts to absorb that membrane, the bad bacteria, which then works into your bloodstream. And all of this can lead to leaky gut, the IBS, the irritable bowel syndrome, increased allergies, skin issues, Crohn's, colon cancer, celiac, and a lot of other challenges.
Headaches are very common. Yeah.
Yeah.
Skin breakouts, all that stuff. Yeah. Do you know, I just had this flashback, Jean, years ago, like 40 years ago, when I was first learning about kind of, nutritional therapy. And I remember there was a little booklet, and it was called Death. It got my attention. It was called Death Begins in the Colon. And you can see, and you're only halfway into this, but you can see why that is so. That now we know about these connections of the intestines to the immune system, to the brain, to the hormones. Everything is interconnected, and so the attention and understanding the gut is so important if we're going to have a healthy body. This is excellent. This is excellent.
Exactly. And if you think about where your gut is at and absorbing all the bad bacteria, there's no place to absorb the good. And that releasing into your bloodstream, your whole body then is going to be out of whack and can lead to some very dangerous diseases. And this is really interesting, the brain-gut connection. And doctors are starting to call the gut the second brain. So, and I didn't realize this until doing some of this research, but I didn't realize the digestive system produces serotonin. And I always thought of that as the brain hormone.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Very interesting. And 95% of that is actually produced in the gut. And so that's one of the reasons why they're calling the gut the second brain, because of that role in producing the serotonin. And what happens when these levels are altered of this serotonin that's produced in the gut, all these diseases can happen as far as what you consider as more of something to do with the brain in your head, not in your gut. Depression, anxiety, addictions, migraines, the autoimmune diseases, autism, heart disease, and osteoporosis. So that was a real interesting connection for the brain and the gut. And then serotonin also manufactures this amino acid, and which is derived from the protein that we eat. So that makes sense now when you think about it, that is happening in the gut because it's derived from a protein that we eat. And so you can see how diet influences the state of our digestive system and that production of serotonin, and then our overall mental and physical health, and how it can impact your memory, your mental clarity, your mood, your cravings, and all those other things that are regulated by serotonin. So a real interesting connection that I had not realized until doing some of this research. You can go to, thank you. So I had a little bit about myself on my IBS story, and I'm sorry, I have a scratchy throat this morning. I have my Vitalize C when I'm done here. So I had problems very early on, and I noticed some food sensitivities, and I learned very early on what my trigger foods were, and it became a lot worse in my mid-20s. And I missed work, I missed events, I would have to go home early, I would have to cancel out at the last minute, I'd have to leave events. And I had one particular time, and I wasn't sure how much detail to go into, but I thought, you know what, I'll go into a little more detail so when you're talking to people, you can understand how bad it can get, but also I'm certainly not a worst case scenario. Things can get a lot worse than where I was at. So I was with my husband, and we were house hunting in Indiana, and I got violently ill, and I actually threw up a black tar. And that happened a couple times later, and I've since learned that I had some probably it was caused some intestinal bleeding. So when that happened, my husband was like, okay, doctor, and I went in, and they diagnosed me with the irritable bowel syndrome, the IBS, and here's your prescription. But I was in my mid-20s, and I knew I did not want to go on a prescription at that time. And I thought, okay, I'll just go very careful with my diet and avoid the trigger foods. But as you can see from the previous slides, where my system most likely was already at, that even having a trigger food or not having a trigger food could cause problems. You know, my system was just off. So I did fairly well, but I still would get ill, very ill, about once a month, and often every couple of weeks. And when I would get ill, it would take me a couple days before I could really eat and get things back on track. So it wasn't until my late 40s that I was introduced to Shaklee, and I started with the Vitalizer that had the Optiflora probiotic, and started with the Life Shake, and immediately noticed some good results. So it was getting that proper nutrients down into the gut, getting that good protein down into the gut, and then I added the Easy Adjust, which we'll talk more about these products later, and still got even better. And now I very rarely have a problem, and about 3 years ago went back into the doctor, and he actually also found what he thinks might be a genetic issue. So if you remember that long tube around the intestines, I had a couple loops in that, and he thought that more likely was genetic, but it could also have occurred on one of my more violent times that I was ill, so it could have happened then too. But he was very shocked at how well I was doing, and had said most people at this point would have probably had surgery and had part of the intestines removed, or had removed.
Amazing. That's wonderful.
Pretty amazing when you think about, and there's so many people that are worse off than where I was, and are at that brink of where the doctors are telling them surgery. So when you're talking to people, a lot of people are in the varying stages of digestive problems. So.
Super powerful.
Side effects of medications, and I'll just do this real fast because Angie went over these, but what I want to show is, again, the side effects of the medication are also causing a lot of what the symptoms were in the first place. So constipation, diarrhea, drowsiness, dry mouth, headache, nausea, pain, swelling, redness, rash, itching, all of these things can happen when you're becoming violently ill from an episode or this chronic illness that you can have. Severe stomach pains, swelling of the face, lips, and tongues. That's interesting. I didn't know that one. Unusual tiredness, bruising or bleeding, unusual hoarseness, bone pain, dark urine, fast heartbeat, and tightness in the chest. So these are all some of those side effects of the meds that are out there. And also there's surgery out there. And I'm finding when I talk to people, more and more people are at a point where their doctors are talking about surgery.
Oh, dear.
Wow.
Eating healthy food, Angie went over a lot of this already, but that was a big thing for me, is I actually noticed while I was pregnant, I actually felt better. And I think that's because I was very careful with what I was eating.
Hmm.
So the healthier food you eat, that whole real food is nature's fiber. And then the herbal supplements, huge for me, but it's because it puts those good nutrients. I mean, we know in today's world it's hard to get all that good stuff from our food, so why not supplement and make sure that you're putting all that good stuff as in your body, and that really promotes good bowel health and cleansing, and that regularity, that one meal in, one meal out, things have to move through, and if it starts backing up, that's where the problems lie. That's where the bacteria comes in, and all the toxic elements that come in. So, and those digestive enzymes to help break things down in the stomach, as Angie mentioned, if you can break it down in the upper area, so when it gets down to the lower intestines, it's already at a good broken down place for your intestines to process. And then that probiotic to keep the balance of the good and bad bacteria.
Jean,
That's a great.
go ahead, Barb. I was going to say, can I just say something about the healthy food and how you felt better when you were pregnant because you were being careful? I think when we think about the fact that we're not absorbing a lot of these nutrients when we have digestive issues, and then we give our body lots of great nutrients through vegetables and fruits and healthy foods, it's like, even though we may not be absorbing all of it, we're absorbing some of it, and we weren't even giving our body those foods before. So giving our bodies good fruits and vegetables it's so important in addition to the supplementation. So sometimes it's not just about removing, even though we're about to talk about that, removing all of the bad stuff. If we can just throw some good stuff in there.
Right.
And Francine, if you could flip back just one slide, I wanted to make the point, and Jean and Angie, this is just excellent.
It is.
Is that this slide is really a good slide, because one of the things I tell people is taking the vitamins is the easy part. Changing the diet is the hard part. And so, and I love those of you who are on the pre-call when one of the groups is doing the get fit before the feast. Fit before the feast is that they said it takes 21 days to change a habit. That's a long time. And so that whole point that Jean and Angie have been making about breaking our food down in the stomach, this is why EasyGest is such an important product. I know the woman who does the Your Future Health blood testing. She is a huge advocate of EasyGest because she said, this is a comprehensive digestive enzyme we'll get to in a few minutes, but this is why that product is so important, is it helps all of us digest our food better, especially when you know that you have had digestive challenges and all the abuse our poor stomachs have taken, let alone, we haven't even talked about stress, which will suppress digestive enzyme production. And so this is a great site. And it occurred to me when you were talking about the cabbage juice, Angie, that taking EasyGest, many people will find more
appealing.
Appealing is the word I was looking for. But it shows it's a simple, the simple steps. Okay, let's go to the next one and see all that junk food. Which I gotta say, that is such a turn off to me to look at that stuff now.
Yeah, it's gross.
It really is, and I know Angie did such a great job going over the junk food, and it's the sugar and the fat and the sodas, but more. What I think also is important about this is if you're eating this, then you're not eating the stuff, the good stuff that your system needs. So this is acting as a replacement, but it's replacing that stuff that's so important to keep all that stuff moving through the colon so you have that one meal in, one meal out. So besides the bad side effects that this gives your body, it's also meaning you're not eating that good stuff.
Jean, can I say one thing about the burger?
Sure.
Reminded me of? Meat tends to stay in our digestive tract, regardless of digestive issues, tends to stay in our digestive tract for 48 to 72 hours because it is harder for our bodies to digest. Vegetables tend to move through within the 28 to 24 hours. Right. So when you're healing, especially lower digestive issues, it probably is helpful to lower the meat intake as well, whether it's disgusting, gross burgers like that or just regular meat that we eat, but it's probably helpful to lower that while we're healing.
And that's a really good point, because meat in the past was always a trigger food for me. And
Mm.
even now, I take Easy Jest before I have meat. And I'm so used to, with all the years of having problems, of thinking of trigger foods, even though it's not a problem like it was.
Mm-hmm.
But meat was one of those. So I still take the Easy Just before I have
Mhm.
something like that.
Yeah.
Some of the products that we're going to talk about, the Optiflora, the Easy Just, we mentioned a couple of these, the fiber advantage bars, and how fiber is so important to add into our diet. The stomach soothing complex, I think Angie mentioned that already. The Herblax, alfalfa, and the vitalizer. Oh, sorry, Angie, I just did your slide.
That's okay. I love it. I'll cut you off when I need to.
There we go. Okay. So the Optiflora probiotic, that friendly bacteria, and what I want to mention about this is going back to that gut-brain connection. There are those microbes in our gut, and the microbes are the good bacteria. And these microbes help us survive by absorbing nutrients and boosting our immune system. So when our body is under stress, our body releases an inflammatory reaction in the gut. And then our body sends these chemical messages to a certain part of our immune system that puts our bodies on high alert. And then what happens is the brain reacts to stress like it's an infection. So when that happens, the brain then your body starts to treat stress, and this goes to your point, Barb, as an infection. And what's really interesting is the current research is showing that depression is an inflammatory disorder mediated by poor gut health. And that all starts with that good bacteria and those good microbes that we have in our body. So it's so important to help to keep us absorbing those good nutrients that boost our immune system, that also help keep our body from reacting to stress, which then kind of falls everything apart. So there's another piece of that brain-gut connection, which I found was very interesting. So the Optiflora probiotic, why a probiotic? So we are constantly exposed to bad bacteria and yeast in the food we eat. And then if you're also already having problems and everything's impacted, you know that the good bacteria is not being absorbed by that mucous membrane. And also we know antibiotics are wiping out the good bacteria, and bad bacteria and yeast cause candida, which weakens the immune system, causes gas, bloating, diarrhea, the irritable bowel system, the acid reflux, allergies, bad skin, and a lot of those other things that we mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Jean, we talk, Optiflora is just, there is not anyone that I have met yet that would not benefit from Optiflora. Mm-hmm. We talked about it in the kids segment. We talked about it last month in the immune segment. We're talking about it in the digestive segment. Optiflora is just, it's the queen. It's
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It really is, and everybody that I know that has been on it actually feels and sees a difference within days. I know I did. It was, within days I felt better. So, and then why our Shaklee Optiflora? If you are new and you're not familiar with our probiotic, it's very unique. Triple encapsulated, which is really important because that protects that live microflora and gets it all the way down into that colon where it needs to be. It gets that live microflora down there. So this triple encapsulation, there's a water-oxygen barrier, and it's also protected from the stomach acid. And Shaklee only has it, which is very cool. 500 million friendly bacteria, and again, triple encapsulation, which a 90% delivery. So in surviving that stomach acid is really, really important, but also surviving the the small intestines and getting all the way down to that colon is really where it needs to be, and our Shaklee Optiflora can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Vitalizer. Now this is what I started on, and I can't stress enough how important this was in getting the good nutrients down in your system. And it's the vitamins, the minerals, the vitamin D, the antioxidants, the anti-aging nutrients, all of that, and also those omegas, because when you're having problems down there, it's an inflammatory. A lot of it's an inflammatory issue, and it's so important to have those 7 omega-3 fatty acids to reduce that inflammation throughout your system. And then our guaranteed super active probiotics. And this again was one of the things that I started on, and everybody that I've recommended this for feels an immediate result from taking the Vitalizer.
Mm-hmm.
EasyGest. We talked a lot about the EasyGest and how important it is for the stomach. So it's that digestive enzyme support. And this is important. It's comprehensive digestive enzymes, and that's really important because a lot of those products over the counter that are out there are one enzyme. So it doesn't break everything down as well as it should. Well, this is a comprehensive enzyme. I think is it 7? Is that right? 7 enzymes? I'm not sure. But it breaks down proteins, fats, carbohydrates. So that's really important. So, for instance, Beano might be just protein. I'm not even sure what it is. Or one of them might be just fats. But this is comprehensive, and that's very, very important. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Jean, when you said the thing about Beano, it reminded me, I think this is a nice one to also have on hand when you don't have necessarily digestive issues, but when you know that beans are a trigger for gas or a lot, things like that, it's just nice to have in your purse, if to have it before a Mexican meal or something that might cause more of that gas.
Right.
The point of EasyGest is that there's 5 of them. I just checked, Jean.
5. Okay.
But one breaks down, like lactose breaks down milk sugar, and protease breaks down proteins, and the lipase breaks down the fat. And so the point is, the main thing to remember is that each of the enzymes in there breaks down a different category of food. That's why people get results so well, because some people there's certain foods that they do better with than others. Mm-hmm. And somewhere in here, what we probably should mention when you were talking about that Optiflora is that that latest thing that we were reading was about this microbiome. And that is this huge city of microbes that live within us, and they are critical for the health of the whole body. And their major food are the starches and the fibers of plants. And so the diet, I always thought about, well, you got to eat the fruits and vegetables because that's the only place that the vitamins are. There aren't vitamins in meat and dairy and sure aren't in sugar and bread and all that stuff. They're only in the stuff that nature grows, the fruits and vegetables, but it goes way beyond that. It's the nature of those foods themselves that are the key components of the diet of those microbiomes. So EasyGest it's affordable, it's economic, and it's great. And what's the best thing is, because in some sense, EasyGest also treats a symptom, right? It's providing the digestive juices that your body is supposed to produce. But as the diet improves, as the vitalizer that you're so right, is just so beneficial, as that starts getting the nutrient level higher, the body starts taking on the job it's supposed to do of making those digestive enzymes itself. And the pancreas, our poor pancreas that makes the pancreatic enzymes, right, that break it down, we wear that little guy completely out because of all the carbs that we eat. Mm-hmm. So this is excellent. Keep going.
Wait, one thing about what Barb just said about the system taking over and while we were healing it, my mom had a lot of issues where that EasyGest helped, and in the beginning she took an EasyGest 1 with every meal, so 3 times a day, and now she only has to take 1 in the morning, and so the bottle says 1 with every meal, and I really think that you can probably not always have to do that.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point, Angie, because my mom is also taking EasyGest. I send it down to her because she would eat and actually, that acid reflux, she would actually throw up is what would happen. And now she doesn't anymore. And she only takes 1 a day also now. But another point to that is as you get older, you have less digestive enzymes being produced in your stomach. So that's something to think about for your parents or people who are, as they're getting older, that they are actually producing less digestive enzymes.
Mm-hmm.
Ours are plant-derived vegetarian capsules, and I think we kind of went over all the great benefits to the EasyJust, so we can go on to the next slide.
We're really excited about EasyJust and probiotics.
Yeah.
We're like, whoa! Stomach Soothing Complex is also a really lovely product for people with digestive issues. But again, this is a great one to have in your cabinet for times outside of that. It has herbs like peppermint, ginger, fennel, anise. We think a lot of ginger when we think of morning sickness and upset tummies, we think ginger, but peppermint and fennel and anise are also really lovely. I always, like if I've eaten a meal I shouldn't have or something, I really love taking the stomach soothing complex just to kind of help soothe my tummy. So it's good for occasional indigestion with your upset stomach. It's also good for nausea. Again, with the morning sickness, but also motion sickness. I know a lot of people take this with them on a long car ride if they're susceptible to car sickness, chemotherapy, after surgery, any of those times when your tummy is going to hurt a little bit more. But in relation to your digestion, gas, bloating, heartburn, again, this is helping the symptoms, so it's not something you're going to necessarily want to depend on every day. It's not going to help with correcting the problem, but it's going to help ease the symptoms. It stimulates the gallbladder and the liver, and it aids in irritable bowel symptoms. It's just a really nice product. And am I right in thinking that you can, it says to take 3 with a meal. I've taken it whenever I need to, meal or not. Usually there's food in my stomach. And or you can make this into a tea. Is that right?
Oh, yeah. Plunk a couple of those into a mug of warm water, and it's so soothing. Yeah. That's really nice. Yeah, I remember somebody, and I'm trying to think who it was, said that one was their favorite one.
Oh, wow.
It's stomach soothing, and so we need someone to tell us how they use it beyond this, because that's very inexpensive, and it's this peppermint and ginger. It's great for the stomach.
Yeah, member price is less than $10. I mean, that is...
Okay, I've got one eye on the clock. Let's click to that. We've got a couple of good ones coming up now.
Okay, chewable calcium magnesium. John Jakubowski used this with his acid reflux. So many people with acid reflux are deficient in magnesium, which is even more so if they're taking the medication, which is such a terrible side effect because the magnesium helps aid in relaxing those muscles. So, and we need it to do that so the sphincter doesn't keep squishing that acid reflux back up into the esophagus. So, and then the calcium seems to be soothing and helps neutralize that acid. So this, I think I like the chewable because you're chewing it and it's going straight, like that. It's already skipping that step of having to be absorbed because you're chewing it. It's having to be dissolved. So it's a nice thing to keep on the nightstand because it's really lovely to have right before bed for a lot of reasons, but especially because of that laying down factor with acid reflux.
I'll go over these real fast since I know we're looking at time, but I think we all know the great benefits of fiber, but a couple of things is, as far as our digestive goes, promotes regularity and colon health, but eliminates those toxins. Remember, our meal should leave our body between 12 to 24 hours after eating, and the fiber helps with that. And this is what's really interesting. Less than 5% of adults consume the recommended fruits and veggies. Only 2% of children consume the recommended fruits and vegetables. And then most Americans consume much less fiber than what we should. And I think we probably all realize that when we think about what our diets look like today, the basic American diet and what's available to us on good foods. And you can go to the next slide, Francine. The Fiber Advantage bars, this one didn't come onto my radar for a while, which kind of surprises me considering the issues that I had. But I actually like these cold and in the refrigerator, but what I really like about these is 8 grams of fiber and very convenient. So what's really nice about this is if you're on the go, you're on the run, you can grab one. You can keep them at your refrigerator or keep them in your desk at work. You can keep them in your purse. So this is just a great, convenient way to get fiber rather than running through a drive-thru and grabbing some of those foods that we saw on our slides earlier. And you can Herbalax. I can't say enough good stuff about this. This also only came on my radar probably about 2 years ago, and I now use it maybe 3 times a week. So what's really neat, improves regularity, which we saw why that's so important, and reduces body odor, which I thought was interesting. But when you think about what happens in there, now you can see those connections.
Mm-hmm.
Improves acne, relieves constipation. I know we don't like the word detoxifier, but cleanse, maybe we could put that in there. Helps headaches, and contains 9 herbs for that cleansing action. So this is a natural product, and what's really important about this is it's a natural way to eliminate, and it isn't anything that your body becomes, what I want to say, addicted to maybe, Barb, if that's the right term for it. It's not something that, it just helps promote the natural reactions of your body and how your colon is supposed to work.
Alfalfa, we all love alfalfa for allergies, but it's also really helpful in our digestive system. So this is really, part of it's because it's got that peppermint in there that can help soothe, but it has reports to help ulcers, stomach ailments, colon problems, gas. Water retention is a nice one. So it's a really, well, that was one of the things John used in his healing was the vitalizer, the alfalfa, and the calcium magnesium. So this can be another product that would really be helpful in digestive issues. It also has a mild diuretic, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
It is.
So when we were looking at things to put together that you could talk to customers to, because it's so important to have the basic nutrients within our body to start the healing of our digestive system, we looked at it on a good, better, best plan. And we have the wonderful Vital E, which I know we've spoken about quite often. So the good plan being a Vital E with a Life Shake to get that good plant protein and to ensure that you or your customer is getting at least one good meal a day. And then from there, adding on these wonderful digestive products that we spoke about that are on the right side of the slide. And then, or starting with the better plan, one of the foundations, which is the Vitalizer and the Life Shake, or the Essential Plan, which is the Vital E, getting those omegas in there for anti-inflammatories, and the Life Shake. Starting on the Vitalizer. All of those include the free membership, and then taking that better plan and adding on Herbalax or EasyJust, depending on what's going on and what they need, or the whole package, the whole digestion product package can be added on. Or the best plan, the Life Plan, starting with the Life Plan, which is what I do now, the Vitalizing Plan, which is the Vitalizer and the 2 canisters of the Life Shake, also including the free membership. And then again, starting with that and seeing how they're feeling with that probiotic and the smoothie and the nutrients, and then adding on, do they need an additional Optiflora, which sometimes I do take an additional Optiflora. Do they need the Herbalax, the EasyJust stomach soothing alfalfa, Fiber Advantage bars, or chewable CalMac?
Mm-hmm.
This is a really good slide.
Yeah.
and what you want to look here is, given what Angie and Jean have created, have reviewed for us, can you see why that middle one is a very good plan of the foundations regimen of the Vitalizer and Life Shake? Because now you're healing the someone losing their microphone. What happened? Are you okay? Okay. Is when you give somebody Vitalizer, for me more so than the Life Strip. Because with Vitalizer, they're getting that Optiflora. You are now giving them products that will begin to heal the gut, their energy. They're getting nutrients that they can absorb into their bloodstream. And so they're going to have improvement. And when you can add the Life Shake to that, that's one meal that is going to be a healthy meal. 1 meal out of 3 a day, that's not bad, right? A third of their meals now are going to be healthy. So I like starting with that one a lot, because plus then you can give them the free membership. Then the following month, if you wanted to kick them up, to the better plan that adds the Vivix, now they can tell you, what did you notice when you added the Vivix? so that now they're beginning to see the value of each of the additional products as they're added. So this is excellent. And I want to mention Patricia Johansson just texted us and said that you can buy, there is a collection of EasyGest where you buy 3 at a time. There's an item code, which I'm going to give you now if you have a pencil, 89218. But when you're placing your order, if you type in EasyGest, see if it comes up. And when you order a 3-pack of the EasyGest, you save $10. So thank you for telling
Wow.
you know, there are a lot of good deals like that we forget.
I think
Also-
that's only available on auto ship, so that's an important thing.
On
Check
auto
it,
ship.
but I think
Good
it's only
to
available on
know.
auto ship. Yeah.
Oh, that's good to know. Okay. So at the point is at the close of an appointment, a meeting, a conversation, people are looking to us. We're not just saying, well, here's all the information, what do you want to do? I think they're asking us at that point, where should we start? And so you want to give them a starting place. And that's what's so great about Vitalizer and the shake. It's such a simple starting place, and then maybe add some of those digestive products that will start to treat some of their symptoms. Okay,
Also,
very
Barb,
good.
if I could jump in real quick. When you're talking to people, don't forget we've talked a lot about the resets. Remember the resets, because it's a good way to start somebody off with eliminating the bad foods in their diet and putting in the good foods. So it could be another way
That's right.
to bring someone in on a good start to digestive health, is bringing them in on a reset. My personal recommendation would just be, stay in close contact with them, because, the raw foods could be hard, so maybe they need to cook their vegetables. But if they're eliminating a lot of that bad stuff and they're cooking their vegetables and having a smoothie, they're going to feel so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Great
good.
point,
So
Steve.
wonderful, wonderful products. Okay, Becky, what are action steps?
I have Francine doing them this week.
Francine, doing action
Oh.
steps. Yay.
How exciting. Okay. Well, our action steps this month are all about events. So we talked about the next couple of months going to be busy, and then that qualification period for the new directors conference is coming up to the end of January. So we want to get busy. We want to think about events that put us in contact with potential customers and business partners, always remembering to keep, both oars in the water. We want customers, but we also want other people to join our team too. So we got to keep both paddles going. And we're looking for events that will, connect us with people. So I think in-home usually generate the most PV, but with our society the way it is, and with all of us living, in different parts of the country, we have so many nice options too, through Facebook and Zoom events, and even being able to use some of these great slides that Jean and Angie presented with us today to do an event on digestion. I mean, with the holidays coming up, my goodness, we just had Halloween, but how many Christmas and holiday parties are coming up? And you have one veggie tray, and then you have deep fried chicken wings and alcohol and all this other stuff that was not on the good list. So this may be a really pertinent topic, which is why Barb the Magnificent decided to do it this month. So it is definitely relevant during this time of year. So anyway, just keep in mind that event, it's a great way to capitalize on the amount of people that you get to talk to at one time, and 4 events generate about 1,000 PV, so that is not too bad. So anyway, and we have all those great ways to do those events too, again, through in-home or video conferencing. We've got, seems like we're learning new ways all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So here's our schedule now for the rest of this semester. Is who's going through that schedule with us? Do we have anybody on there?
I think you are, Barb.
I am. Well, okay. So today we were covering our digestive products, which has been our goal for the beginning of each month. And then for our next 2 sessions, we're going to be bringing you some more ideas on ways of sharing. And Ashley is going to be back with us. She's very, very pregnant, and that baby is due very, very soon. And we gave her a little bit of a break, but we've been missing her, and so she's going to come back and do a session with Susan, not next week. Susan did a great event also. She called Discover Shaklee. She's given us all of her materials for it. And it was, I think it produced almost 500 PV by the time she was done. And with the folks in her neighborhood, so she'll share that. And then Harper has created a kind of a checklist for new directors. And this is one that's going to become a standalone, that every time we have a new director, we're going to be sending them to this. And it's going to be a plan for them of what now? I'm a director, what now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then we go on break, and we'll come back just for the first 2 Tuesdays of December. And then we'll take a break until January. And as soon as we know the Shaklee calendar, we can tell you more precisely which day we come back. I just don't want to run you around to too many events in a week. So it'll probably be the second Tuesday of January, and we'll post that in Learning from the Masters. And I'll talk to Chris so he can change the schedule for all of you on the go-to meeting website, so you don't all have to re-register. So, and just a few comments came in that were just so wonderful. I just want to comment. Several people mentioned about stomach soothing complex and just how incredibly beneficial it was for, Tara talked about it for PMS cramps, and gone in seconds, she said, after making a tea. And Elizabeth mentioned that stomach soothing complex, through all of her treatments, everything was a clinical study for her. This was absolutely miraculous for her. I appreciate stomach soothing complex more than words can describe. Good, great to know that. So, oh gosh, lots more down here. Becky, you want to see any of those?
Angie, I wonder if you could give some tips. Someone asked about 2-year-olds and alfalfa, how to help them get that in clever ways for them to eat it.
Yeah, luckily when my kids were 2, they would just eat it. They did not think that it tasted like peppermint grass, even though it does. And now actually they still eat it, but they like to eat it with an Incredivite or with a chewable seed to help mask the grass taste, I guess. You can also crush it and put it in applesauce. You can crush it and put it in yogurt. I mean, you're still going to taste a little bit of that peppermint, but some kids think that peppermint tastes good. So, you know, that is a trickier one, I will say, but that's one of the reasons I love that people start their kids young on things, because they just get used to it. It's like, okay, I'll eat that. You know, so you might just try to just see if they'll chew it, and if they won't, then try to crush it and put it. I've even heard of people crushing it and putting it like on peanut butter toast, which, you know, that gets it in there.
Or peanut butter fudge, you know,
That's true.
That's always great. You can, peanut butter smuggles on it.
A question about using herb blacks before colonoscopy. Do you have any thoughts on that, or when you're preparing for that kind of procedure?
Well, yes, I have wondered about that myself, since I have never done that. And I will tell you, though, before I had to have this procedure on Friday, the day before, I thought this was just they were just wanted to do an exam of the reproductive organs. So they just wanted to do the small incision and go in with a camera and take a picture of all the organs. Sounded simple. So I thought, well, the best thing would be to have an empty intestinal tract, right, for having all this anesthesia and so on. So the day before, I took performance, and I will tell you, I will write this up, but if you ever have to have anesthesia for anything or have any kind of hospital procedure, that performance is an amazing product. So that is a clear liquid, so it's not going to put any bulk in your intestinal tract, right, and in your colon. And so I took that the day before, but I could have easily, in fact, it's all I lived.
No, I'm looking at these.
It was all I lived on for 3 days. When I was in the hospital, it's the only thing I could keep down, and I was pretty satisfied with that. And so I think for a colonoscopy, why not? But you just would have to do it. See, normally they give you those colon emptying products the night before, so people are eating normally right up to that. I would start, emptying the colon a couple of days before, because you've got to be sure it's completely empty. So we'd need a nurse to tell us a little bit more about, thinking about the transit time that Jean and Angie were just talking about. You want to make sure that you're completely clear. Then if you do an enema or something right before, then it's going to be minimal, right? Because there won't be a lot to eject. But
Right.
I don't know. I've not done it. And if somebody has, they can tell us. Go ahead. And next, any other questions, hon?
Lots of people just so thankful for the information. Shelley, I'm going to the top here. She said my digestive.
There was some gas from Life Plan. We are getting that. And I don't run into it very often, but remember, given what Jean and Angie just reviewed, if it's somebody who is new to Shaklee, you want to assume that they have a crummy diet. So you now are putting in Life Plan, in Life Shakes, they are not only getting the probiotic, they are getting a prebiotic, the food that the probiotics are supposed to eat. And if you don't have probiotics to eat that stuff, it's the same problem if you take Optiflora powder.
Oh, sure.
The prebiotic and the probiotic together, I always separate those and do the probiotic first, because if you don't have anything to eat, the fertilizer, the food for it, it will lie in the gut and it will ferment, and that will cause gas. So yes, increasing Optiflora is a very good idea, but you got to really start looking at the diet. Now, luckily, we have a wide variety of protein shake products, including Shaklee 180 Whey. That's a great product, and a lot of people start there, before they go to Life Shake.
Yeah, Karen just added Easy Just helps with newbies on Life Shake. I love that.
Yes, it does, and it will. But just I've gotten to the point where I kind of assume people have a crummy digestive tract, and so and this is why even with the 5-day reset, some people I just say we may have to start slowly. Tell me about your digestion. Do you ever have gas and bloating? That's my favorite question, because most people do, and I ask the question so they realize that that is not a normal thing.
Right.
So they realize that that's something we want to start working on. Okay.
I think that's most of it. But such a good job, ladies. Oh my goodness, such good information.
Marge, you asked about a list of the specials. Pam Carey did. How many weeks ago was that? Maybe at the end of September. But in one of our archive sessions, and I believe it is at Learning from the Masters Facebook page, she put all the specials together on a couple of pages. And so, yes, things like the Easy Just collection and what collections qualify for free membership and what collections give you the $10 coupon and all of that. She put that all together for us. So that's at Learning from the Masters Facebook page. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Gosh, lots of comments here.
I know. They're all really good.
Yeah, if you like Osteomatrix better than the chewable, absolutely, totally fine.
Someone asked if it was okay to use Jean and John's testimonial. Jean, was that okay if someone uses your testimonial, the slide?
Oh, we might have. Is she?
Sure. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, that's why we put it. That's why we put it here, and this is all archived.
Yeah, in the past, I think we've had a couple of people that have requested that their children's testimonials were not shared with their picture and name. But and if John has a problem with it, we will. Would you let us know?
Well, just all you have to do is remove the last name.
Yeah.
When you use it, just use the story.
And Jean just texted me that we can use her story.
Awesome.
I just unmuted you, Jean.
Okay, that's good. Excellent. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, training team. Good job today.
Yes, great job.
All right. So next week will be another great one, and so we're going to have a really powerful November for everyone. I will over and out. Thanks, everyone.
Good morning, Barb.
Hi, dear. I was so impressed with all of that wine and wellness open house that Karen, I was just eager to share that with everybody this
I
morning.
know. She did so awesome with it. It was such a fun event, and just it felt like a party, you know?
That's awesome.
Well, it was, she's so creative and gives us all her materials. It makes it so much easier for everybody else. So Becky, though, the company has announced a couple of dates for us, and then this Wednesday is going to be one of their monthly business sessions, and they're going to be announcing special promotions are going to be coming up for the month of November. So very cool. So yeah, tell us a little bit about what's coming up so people will know.
You bet. So the two dates there on the slide that you see, one is a video conference kickoff, and so that's going to be what Barb was talking about. It's happening this Wednesday. The first Wednesday of the month, Shaklee does a video conference for us that we can click into on our computers, and those are archived too, so if you can't see it live, then you can go back and look at those. But those are just really great monthly updates. This Wednesday they're going to be talking about some promotions, but then we don't know what they're going to talk about January 4th. But anyway, it's a really good one to tune into, because then Saturday, January 7th, they're going to be having kickoff events all over North America. And so it's really great for you to be able to either attend one or you can host a kickoff event. And anyway, we'll find out more about that, but it is an exciting time. And Barb, I think.
Yeah, January is, so just to give you an idea of what's coming ahead for between now and January. It seems funny to be talking about January on the first day of November, but actually we want to plan the next 2 monks. And so, Lauren, those are your little kids playing there. It's totally fine.
Sorry.
No, it's totally fine. We hear them. But this is really a very important time for planning. And so these ideas that we've been bringing to you all through this fall, we've had product collections that have been phenomenal. And this week, we will start our conversation about the November collection, which is about digestion. And hopefully next week we'll be able to bring you one of our more recent customers, Linda Glass, with a very powerful story. But so many health issues, from the brain and depression and anxiety and that kind of stuff, hormonal stuff, all the immune stuff has strong relationships to the gut. And so that's why we want to understand we have some really spectacular products. So as we're coming into these next 2 months, it's a time to plan. Some months are great months for events, and some are great months for appointments. And so so we want to give you all the materials that you need so that come January, they'll be announcing a new the trips for 2018. We will begin qualifications. Qualifications will be changing, so we'll know how to get ourselves and our businesses all in place in order for us to really take advantage of them. So starting today, we've asked Lauren Breeden to join us because she has a director under her, Karen Beckley, who is a school teacher, and so we can't pull her out of classroom for our Tuesday morning sessions, but yeah, she has done some tremendous things, and so Lauren is her upline and is guiding her to a really strong business. She just started her business when, Lauren? In the spring?
It was last year when she started, about a little over a year ago, and then she became director, let's see, the spring. So she's just an amazing woman who just she just radiates joy and love, and I think that's so important in this business, you know, just that people feel valued and that they feel cared for, and that just comes so naturally for her. So she had an amazing event, and it was honestly, like I was saying, it was so fun, and it just felt like a party, and it was great because people were able to have that one-on-one interaction, that one-on-one questions and answers. And so it was really nice because people could ask questions that, about health issues that pertain to them or topics that they're really interested in. So it was just a really cool setup. It was an open house, so it was from 6 to 9, so people could come and go as they needed to, and they weren't going to miss, an hour-long presentation. They could just come and see the different stations that interest them, and like I said, talk with Karen and talk with and talk with me, and so she just did great, and you can tell she put in a lot of just special touches into it, and she had a really fun idea. It was a scavenger hunt, and so people could fill out a little sheet and answer some questions just about different products, and then they can turn that in to win prizes. And so I just thought that was a really fun idea too. So she had different stations like stress and energy and immunity and children's health, and then each station had a binder with it, and so she printed out the product sheets that are available in the back office. They're so nice, they're beautiful and informational, and she printed those out, and then she would have some of the products there. She had her laptop set up with the health print so people could do that. And then she, like I said, she was just available to answer people's questions, and obviously had wine and snacks. And it was just a really, really fun event, and it was really nice just to chat with her friends and family. And
look at her great photos that she did for us. So she really, we can see exactly what her stations are and what she did at each one. I mean, this is really a total package. And she did this also this summer when she put together all the 5-day reset periods. And all of that is at Learning from the Masters Facebook page. And we'll make sure that those Becky, I was supposed to send those to you last night and I crashed. I will send those. I will get those to you so we can put those in, and I'll get them to Chris, and so they will be archived right along with this session. But look, isn't that clever? And look how beautifully she made those brochures.
Absolutely.
Very nice.
And I love that she used things that are available to all of us. We just need to go in the Member Center and print those off, so that's great.
Very good. And you know what I'm thinking is, the material that comes from the company is they're very limited in what they're able to say. They can't even use the word detox. Isn't that amazing? I mean, it's so restrictive. And so what I think I'm going to do with what she's done here, and you'll notice several times a month we post a testimonial here, a report from somebody, with their picture, with their story. Those would be excellent to print on the back of those information sheets, because that makes it real. And I was reminded of this I don't know when it was. I kind of lost track of time last week, but I think last week, I don't know if I even put this on Learning from the Masters, but I just had a sheet that you'll see it today when we talk about the digestive products, and it just outlined each of the digestion products that Shaklee has, and just a little blurb about them, right? And I had sent that out to to the business leaders just to have in their files in case someone asked them about digestive stuff. And one of them, Linda Glass, got that sheet, and it had it had everything. It had stomach soothing complex and easy chest and everything. And she told me that she as she read the description of each one of those products, she bought every one of the products that was on that sheet. Now that was a lesson for me, because it outlined kind of, what people take it for, for their symptoms. And she had this long history of digestive stuff. Hopefully we'll get her on in the next week or two and see if she can share her story. But the point of that is that these materials that we have both from the company, and then we add, the real life story with it, they're very powerful materials. And they influence people. So if we come into the holiday season and it's not as effective to do meetings in your home, for people to come out to special meetings, you can do an awful lot with these materials and doing individual appointments with them. Are there any more slides on that, Beck?
That's the last on that. Our next slide is about other topics.
There you go. Go ahead. Okay. Oh, Francine, are you the clicker today?
I am the clicker, yes.
Oh, good. Okay. Okay. Walk us through these.
Francine, you go ahead. I think we muted Lauren.
Oh, sure. So this is an idea of just different events that you might want to do coming into the cooler fall and winter months. And what's great about all these is, as you look over some of these clever names, is you don't have to have a separate event for every one of these things. If there's a core event that you really feel comfortable with, core material that you really feel comfortable presenting, you can still use that and just change the name of it, just to put another little bit of a twist on it, or to invite new people. So for instance, if this month you want to do a fall into good health, and then in January you're defrazzling and detangling the holidays, that could still be about our foundational products and how to survive illness through these next couple of months, how to build up the immune system. But it just could be it just looks different. They're
darling, don't get your tinsel in a tangle. Come up with these. These are precious.
That was the famous Julie Schmid.
Oh, she is great.
She is. I said, can you send me a couple of thoughts? So, yeah, really, really good.
And they are great. And they're, looking into the new year, people are always making resolutions and sometimes thinking about health in a different way if they didn't take very good care of themselves through the holidays. So, there's several things about New Year, New You, step into wellness, all those types of things. So lots of great ideas and clever names here.
The point is, set them up now.
Yeah.
So the point is, right now, November 1st, 75 degrees in Chicago today. Get that. And
oh my goodness.
I know, November 1st. And now is the time to set up our calendars for November, December, and January. And the other thing I'm aware of is in October, when sometimes your life gets interrupted. And I had that happen with travel, and then an unexpected hospital visit, which I'm fine now. But I just realized that many of you have got little kids. You've got aging parents. You've got jobs. There are so many things to distract us and take us off course. And what I hear more than anything else from all of us is how important it is to continue to meet on Tuesday mornings and to stay connected, because we need that. We need to have these fun meetings. We need to have the get-togethers. I've heard people talk about the energy that you feel in a room when people come together. It's one of the reasons it's so important to attend, these regional events and the Super Saturdays and all of that, is that even if you don't bring somebody, you know what? We need that. We need to be reminded of just how precious this thing is that we do and the work that we do. And boy, I tell you, I sure realize that being in that hospital, and most of those people are on 12-hour shifts, and I loved them. So in 12 hours, you get to know somebody pretty well. And that one of my favorite ones, her name, she was from Ghana. Her name was Delight.
Aww.
and she was a delight. But I looked at those people, mostly women. They were all overweight. They worked very long hours. They were on their feet almost the entire 12 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And they had 30 patients on that floor. They were just constantly, and I thought, you know what, our job is so much easier. And it's about wellness and prevention and keeps people out of those hospitals. And
Mm-hmm.
it just recommitted me, and they were all unhealthy, terrible food. Oh my God, the food in those hospitals is so horrendous. And I just realized we have a lot of work to do, even with our medical professionals, because they just don't know. They just don't know the things that we know. And when I talked to Linda Glass and what a difference Shaklee made in her life in just a matter of 3 months, it was just so heartwarming to hear that. So we'll try to get her story to you next week. Any more slides before we get?
Well, real quick, the new directors conference, there's a change with that this year, and the qualification period ends January 31st. So when we're thinking about those events that we just suggested, definitely take Barb's advice and book your calendars and book early in the month in case things don't go as planned. So you still have a couple weeks to readjust, because you are going to want to attend this conference. I went a couple months ago, and it truly is life-changing. I think all the attendees can agree with me. So it entails accumulating 18,000 PGV in a new director's 6-month period in your first year. But Shaklee is really gracious and gives you a do-over, per se.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't accumulate that 18,000, you can accumulate 48,000 in any 12-month period after that. So book your calendars. Get busy, guys. You won't want to miss this for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then just a quote before we get started. This is great too, because we do take time out of our day, out of our week to come to this Tuesday morning training, and Abraham Lincoln summed it up nicely. Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. And that's exactly what we do when we come together Tuesday morning. We are sharpening our axes, so we're out there ready to go change the world. And then this is another great idea of something you might want to think about doing in your next couple of months. Nicole Zabel was the mastermind, I hear, behind this event. Fit Before the Feast, it's based on the whole premise that it takes 21 days to change a behavior. And so these business leaders have come together to break the month up into these intervals within this 21 days. They're focusing on 4 different things: sleep, energy, exercise performance, and weight loss. And it's kind of like a 5-day reset, because they're coming together to provide that community of support, but they are providing education on all of those topics, and participants can choose if they want to be a part of all of those or just one of those. But what's really cool is they've put together kits for each of those 4 topics. And I talked to Sarah this morning, and she was explaining to me that the Vitalizing Plan is kind of the core product for all of the kits, but then depending on which one you're more interested in, there's some add-on products too. For instance, like with energy, they've added the green tea, and they would add the energy chews when they're available, that kind of thing. But they're getting ready to start this. Actually, today is their first day, but they have 25 participants signed up already, so they're very excited about that. She did say that several of those people are people who are doing a Shaklee business, and so she invited anyone who wanted to join to come on along for the ride and help them, with this, partake in it. She said you just look up Fit Before the Feast on Facebook, and they will add you to their group.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Clever
Wonderful.
idea. Very nice.
I see Jean is unmuted. Should we just make sure we can hear?
Yep, Jean?
Yes, good morning.
Oh,
She's good.
good. And then Angie.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, good. Just always want to check that. All right. So, Barb, you want me to do the 3,
Yep.
2, 1? All right.
Yep.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1.